What's up, everybody? Welcome to the chaos. My name is Brad. The stock market is crazy and chaotic, and I made it my mission to help you guys own it. Obviously, you can see next to me, I have a special guest today, and we have a special segment that I'm bringing to you guys. I'm diving into cryptocurrency, and I'm diving more specifically in the mining, and I figured since I'm learning about it, I might as well document it and share with you guys my journey, and we'll get into that in just a moment. Also, later in the show, we have reactions to Broadcom and Lululemon. Those earnings are coming out today after hours, so I'm going to dive into that as well. But Jaime is my, I don't want to say crypto expert because you probably don't classify yourself as a crypto expert, but my guy that's going to help me along with crypto mining. And I actually have a special unboxing that we're going to do. So welcome, my man.
I'm here. I'm quite excited. You are diving into this realm of crypto mining and the industry itself. They're quite related. One's on cocaine, the other one's on tradition. So it's quite an exciting venture.
Exactly. So we're going to be getting that in just a second. But as always, let me shout out my starting five. I got Pastor David Hopper, Bodie Beard, Kevin Hawthorne, Karim Bastanci. You give me so much love, and I can never say your name right, so I do apologize. But then we also have Gabriel Navarro in the house, as well as our starting five. If you guys didn't make the starting five, it could be because you haven't subscribed to this channel, so make sure you're hitting that thumbs up sub and hit that notification bell so you get notified when I go live at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Thursday, and you might just show up on the starting five. I'll give you a little shout out, just a little love, just a little extra love for showing up early. So thanks, guys, for hanging out and showing up early. Also have to shout out Pastor David Hopper because this is hilarious. It says there's not much joy in the stock market, but hearing Brad say my name each day makes life worth living. I don't know how uncomfortable I should be by that statement, but listen, man, I'm here for it. I appreciate it.
I love your community.
I know they're the best. These guys are the best. They really are. So we have about 13 minutes before the market closes, and we'll react to those earnings. So why don't we go ahead and just hop into it? So I'm going to bring up this little guy right here. And it's upside down. It's weird that the handle's here, but now I have to flip it over. So I'm going to bring up this guy. We're going to talk a little bit about this. So what the hell is in this box, Jaime?
All right. It's a miner, not your industrial miner. And so
let me just set the stage for you. So this is a cryptocurrency miner. It's not, some people would probably the immediate I guess assumption would be like, oh, this is Bitcoin. No, right. It's not Bitcoin. It is something completely different. It is still cryptocurrency related, but I think for my audience, let's just go back to like day one. What exactly does this machine do? What do miners in general actually do?
Beautiful. I'm glad you asked the question. So we're about to cheat on this by using a phenomenal illustration that was generated by the BBC. And before we run it, I do want to mention, so it performs a specific function, because when I first heard of mining, Bitcoin mining in this case, I'm like, what is it, like a fairy dust printer? It's like, what the hell is it for? And what is it mining? And you'll hear things like mathematical formulas and, okay, well, how does that relate to creating value? There's so many complications to the explanation.
Right.
And that's why I love BBC's clip, which explains what the miners are doing. So they're doing two things before we run it. Is one, they're securing the network, and we can go way deep on how it does that.
Yeah, what that actually means.
Yes. And two, they are actually processing transactions on the blockchain. So they're securing and processing transactions. And in that process, they issue a reward. In the case of Bitcoin, everybody knows you earn Bitcoin. What few people know is that there's also a payment, a fee in Bitcoin for the processing of the transactions.
So not only do you get a Bitcoin, but you get a little extra on top.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the logic behind this is that it's going to get to the point when Bitcoin reaches a certain value, and the Bitcoin mining starts having the rewards start having, it'll get to the point where it's still profitable to mine once the last Bitcoin is minted. By the way, it's going to be up until 2152 the year that we run out of Bitcoin.
So we got a ways to go.
Yeah, we'll be long gone.
Right.
It'll be our kids or grandkids' problem.
Right.
Then.
Right.
So now let's roll the clip so you can see what it's actually doing.
When you want to buy something normally, using your normal bank card, this is what happens. I give my card details to the shop. The shop asks the bank if I'm good for the money. The bank checks its records to see if I've got enough in my account. If I do, it lets the shop know. It updates its records to show the movement of money from my account to the shop's. Oh, and it takes a little cut for its trouble. Now, if you wanted to remove the bank from that system, who else would you trust to keep those records and not alter them or cheat in any way? Well, I wouldn't trust you. I wouldn't trust you. In fact, I wouldn't trust any single person, but I might trust everyone. The idea is you don't have a central record of transactions. Instead, you distribute many, many copies of this ledger around the world. Each owner of each copy records every transaction. So, to buy something using cryptocurrency, I give the shop my details. The shop asks all the bookkeepers if I'm good for the money. The bookkeepers all check their records to see if I have enough. If I do, they tell the shop, and then all update their records to show the movement of money. So there's no way that a forged transaction can make it in. If I try to alter a ledger, it won't match all of the other copies, and it gets rejected. Oh, and one of them, at random, will be given a reward of some newly created cryptocurrency. This is how cryptocurrencies work. And remember, all of these bookkeepers, all of these ledgers, they're not actually people, they're computers. Lots of computers.
All right. So that's a basic explanation of how it works. Right. So let's elaborate on that a little bit. So I, now have this miner, this gold shell miner. And sorry about that, William Williams. It was just a very short video to be able to explain it much better than we can. But so anyways, I have this nice little tiny miner. It's not a Bitcoin miner, but it is a miner for what?
So in this case, this one we're mining Kadena.
So it's a cryptocurrency called Kadena.
Yes, and it performs a function, and I'm not going to get into it, where there are going to be transactions. So there's different purposes. So Bitcoin was created as a cryptocurrency for money, a protocol for money, transfer of money from me to you in a secure way.
Yeah.
Now, when you hear all these cryptocurrencies appear across the board, or there are over 20,000 nowadays, and we're kind of in the, remember, I don't know if all of your viewers are from my age, all silver haired, but the .com era with the implosion that occurred, you saw right before the 2000 implosion, there's quite a bit of junk that appeared in the market. And that's what we're seeing in crypto industry. Scams, you're seeing all this type of thing, which will sort itself out.
Right.
But the function of the miner itself is to process those transactions. In the case of Kadena, we won't go into make it too difficult, but it actually processes a transaction. Let's say logistics, supply logistics. I'll give you a scenario. It secures, imagine a ledger. It's a global ledger around the world where all of your transactions are publicly visible, not the specific transaction, but the hash to demonstrate, hey, I just put this on a global ledger to that's auditable, to demonstrate that my supplier in Singapore shipped me this lot with this number, and I put it into this batch of product.
Got it.
So it's a general ledger of transactions. It can apply to voting, for example, where I voted, only one person can vote who knows their keys. And I don't want to lose us in this. We can go deep into it at another time. But the function of this is to write into the ledger and secure the network. So if there's a bad actor trying to change a record, and that's the big difference. That's a very important difference. If you ever, like a bank, they could change the log of the transaction didn't happen.
Right.
Or a government. Oh, this never happened, because they own the database. The thing about these machines is that it's a decentralized, they're all over, like Kadena, Bitcoin. There's miners installed all over the planet.
That can't be manipulated.
Exactly.
Right.
So when you have so many that have a copy of the ledger, you can't make the change. Mathematically, it's almost impossible to do. And it's the proof of work, which is what miners do. The calculations is what creates the unlikelihood of cheating.
Got it.
So in this case, go ahead.
So I just want to pause. I know there's some people tuning in. We will be covering the Broadcom and Lululemon. I don't want to lose people, because I explained to you guys on Monday that this is the journey that I'm going into. So before we get into those earnings, this is just kind of like here's what we're talking about. Here's my journey into learning about this, as I am now with Medify, and kind of bringing you guys along for the ride. So nothing's happening differently. We're still going to react to those earnings as the market's getting ready to close in just a few minutes. But I just wanted to bring this to you guys, let you guys know what I was up to. So let's go ahead and just open the box here real quick. So as you had mentioned, it's a computer, and it's a very interesting looking computer, and it's actually pretty tiny. So these are actually miners that you can set up in your home, right? Like,
Yes.
we talked on DC TV, which, by the way, you can go check out. This is my morning show with you guys about how Bitcoin just isn't to a point to where you can actually mine it and make money from home right
Correct.
now. It's just too big.
Yes.
But in this case, we can do it from home. This is
Yep.
this is a gold shell miner for Kadena, is what you were explaining.
Exactly. And the function, it's quite simple. If you see back here, all you need is power and internet. So you'll just plug this in.
And another computer of some sort, a laptop or whatever.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So what you use the laptop, though, if it's a fair thing, is to set it up. So you'll set up a wallet to where the rewards it earns goes to that wallet. In this case, it would be a Kadena. That's for another moment.
Okay.
But you can actually open up a wallet in Coinbase or Binance US, and you put this machine to work. So it's like hiring a little employee to earn you passive income. Why are you earning income? It's because this little employee right here is securing the global network of Kadena.
Good stuff.
And why not Bitcoin? Since everyone speaks of Bitcoin, is because it's gotten to the point that there's so much competition for Bitcoin mining that powering it in is 3,000 watts per hour that you'll be consuming to plug in. So it's like hiring a champion, like a sumo wrestler, but let him have your access to your pantry. You'll soon be out of money, house and food, trying to pay for the electricity it consumes. So these are the type of ASICs that are intended for home.
ASIC is a miner.
Oh, my apologies. Yes. Yes. So it fulfills only one purpose, and it's programmed to do Kadena in this case.
Okay.
But you can buy miners that are dedicated to different blockchains, but that's for another day.
Yeah. So this is still just very early. I know that you guys have a lot of questions, so make sure you're putting them in the chat. Make sure you're putting them in the comments, because I have my own questions and I'm trying to hold back from giving them all, because I don't want to take up the entire hour with this. But this is just to let you guys know what I'm up to. And if you guys want to continue to follow me along on this journey, make sure you're hitting that subscribe. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do this in pre-recorded as pre-recorded content or continue on with live streams, but I thought this would be an interesting little unboxing. That's all there is to this.
That's it.
You just plug it in and it's like your own little ATM machine. Am I oversimplifying that?
No, it pretty much is. And but see, that's the misconception. A lot of people are like, well, that's fairy money. Well, or it's not real.
It's digital. Like,
yes, actually, there's a huge market for it because it's actually has value, and you can just let it do its job.
yeah,
You don't have to worry about taxes until you sell, and that there's software that can do the accounting for you, and then you just submit it to your accountant and you do your payment. So it's
right.
you're actually performing or providing a service, and you're getting paid for it in that token. That's the simplest way to look at it, mining.
Makes a little bit sense. A little bit of sense. So I've definitely, guys, I still definitely have a lot of questions about this. I know that you do too. I appreciate the questions coming in. Let's just answer one real quick before we get into it, as the market has officially closed. William Williams asked, and I think this is actually a good important question. It's like, what's the return on investment on something like this typically? So he says, what's the price point of the product? So how much were these miners again?
So these miners in a bull market, they range anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 per machine.
Yeah.
This one, because we're in a bear market, it is Crypto Cowboy, which you guys will meet one day, helped source it for $999. And now the production is about $7 to $8 per day in today's valuation in the bear market.
Is that per miner?
Per day, per miner.
Per miner.
Yes.
Okay.
Per day, per miner.
Okay.
So every day it'll be $8. You're like, dude, that's not much.
Right.
Well, think of the token itself. Today it's worth $8. It peaked at around, it's going to get to the point, I think it peaked at around $100 per valuation. So each token that you're minting now in the bear market, if you don't sell it, you hold it, it'll get to the point where you can cash out, and those $8 coins that you were minting at the time
are worth a lot more.
Exactly.
So
at the next bull run, you're cashing out
right
at the top.
Makes sense. So that probably prompts a lot more questions too, is like, how does it even get to $100 and all of that? So this is, again, just very early on, very preliminary. This is day one. Bring those questions to me. Put them in the comments. Would love to hear from you guys. Even the naysayers. The poll is definitely starting to get a little polarizing. See what I did there? So 35 of you put in here that you are interested in learning about, 54 of the 35 of you that voted said you are interested in about crypto mining, and a pretty decent majority you said that you're not. So that is something interesting that I'm going to continue to take with me. But again, like I said, I want to be able to share my journey on this. If you don't want to watch it, cool. But we're still going to continue to react to earnings and do all that fun stuff that we do on this channel. So Jaime, thanks so much for helping me out today. We'll have him back on as more questions come about, and as my own questions come about. And I'm super excited about learning more about what it is to be a miner.
Welcome to the cherry popping, sir.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. You can choose to hang out, or you can
sure
do your own
beautiful thing. If there's any questions, just ping me.
Yeah,
and I'll run right back in.
Absolutely.
Pleasure meeting you all.
Thanks,
Enjoy
man.
the show.
Thanks, man. All right, so on to the regularly scheduled programming. Broadcom is reporting earnings today. Let's go ahead and take a look at that chart right now. The stock right now is down closed down about 1.5%. And Lulu is also reporting earnings right now, and we'll check in on that stock as well. That is starting to make a little bit of a move, but no real movement as of yet. So let's go ahead and take what the expectations are for Lululemon. The stock right now is trading just up slightly, about 0.5% after closing down on the day, 2%. Estimated earnings per share were $1.86. $1.77 billion in revenue was expected. They actually beat earnings last time, and the key here is going to be guidance. And we've been talking about that. It's kind of been the theme here for the season for earnings. And yeah, I mean, listen, it's one of those things where you can make the argument like, well, the theme's always going to be guidance, right? But the real big focus has been guidance right now because of things slowing down, interest rates coming up, inflation going up, all of that. So can Lululemon come out of this unscathed? Can they beat expectations? We'll have to wait and see. To me, I think that they're a little bit on the hot seat. You know, when people ask me if they're going to beat or they're going to miss, in this case, I think it's kind of Lululemon being on the bubble a little bit, because retail has been in a big has we've seen some misses, we've seen some beats. It's just kind of been a crapshoot. So I think that Lululemon right now is actually starting to move. So maybe we actually have a pretty decent beat for Lululemon. Let's go ahead and take a look and see if we have those numbers out just yet. And the stock is moving now up over 6% after hours. Holy shit. Here we go. Come on now. What we got? So as I'd mentioned, estimated earnings per share, $1.86, $1.77, or sorry, $1.77 billion in revenue is what the expectation was. Some numbers here that we have: $1.9 billion in revenue, which is a beat. Revenue increased 29% year over year. Comparable sales increased 23% or increased 25% on a constant dollar basis. Diluted earnings per share of $2.26. The adjusted was a $2.20. So an absolute monster beat for Lululemon. You can see this big giant ass boner candle just continuing to go up. The stock's now up over 6% as a result. Let's take a look at some of the other numbers here. Net revenue, as I'd mentioned, increased 29% to $1.9 billion. Direct-to-consumer net revenue represented 42% of total net revenue compared to 41% for the second quarter of 2021. So it's year over year. Gross profit increased 25% to $1.1 billion, and gross margin increased 160 basis points to 56.5%. Those margins are ridiculous, especially in this kind of environment. When we're seeing things, as far as inflation, seeing things just cost more. Stock is now up 7.25% and still climbing here. Absolutely crazy. Diluted earnings per share around $2.26, as I had mentioned, crushing earnings expectations. Net revenue increased by $1 billion or 112%, representing a 3-year compound annual growth of 28%. That is pretty damn good for a retail company. Gross margin increased 150 basis points. Operating margin increased 250 basis points, and adjusted operating margin increases 190 basis points. CFO Megan Frank says our teams continue to execute at a high level, which is driving our strong financial and business performance despite the challenges around us in the macro environment. Guest traffic in our stores and our e-commerce sites remains robust, which continues to the strength of our multidimensional operating model. And I'm pleased our start to the third quarter and believe we are positioned for the fall and holiday season. So all good things for Lululemon. The 2022 outlook for the third quarter of 2022, the company expects net revenue to be in the range of $1.78 billion to $1.8 billion, representing a 3-year compound annual growth rate of approximately 25%. So that is also higher than expectations on guidance. For 2022, the company expects net revenue to be in the range of 7.8 to 7.94, which is also higher than expectations. So as you can see, the stock's being rewarded now, up 7% after hours. What a move for Lululemon. Still crushing it. That is crazy. That is crazy. Luxury usually does well. You say I appreciate this, right? Roger says hot girl clothes and says luxury usually does well. Lulu looks great. Sales will never stop going up. Women look great in Lulu, says Stop Console Wars. Here's the thing about Lululemon. I see a lot of men wearing Lululemon. It ain't just a female. It ain't just for the ladies. It ain't. I don't own any Lululemon because I'm an Under Armour guy through and through. I'm a loyalist. I'm a homer. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, and I just can't cheat on Under Armour. I just can't do it. But a lot of people do, men and women, wear Lululemons, not just for the ladies. However, them yoga pants, not gonna lie, the ladies in the Lululemon yoga pants, they're looking all right. They're looking all right, ladies. You want us men to enjoy looking at you, and don't tell me you don't. Sometimes you just wear the clothes because you want the men to look at you. The Lululemon, they got that shit on lock. They do. If you're trying to get a man's attention, throw on some Lululemon pants. It'll do the trick. I promise you that. Stock's up 8.3%, and it is continuing to move up. Stop Console War says a lot of men love Lululemon. Yes, but I'm not looking at Lulu as tried and true. Yeah, true, absolutely true. Bullish on yoga pants. So Husker says, listen, I'm not gonna argue with that. How can I argue with that? I can't. We got to continue to be bullish on that. I've been mining. Oh, I like this. Paul Wilson says I've been mining Pi coin for 2 years. Coin for 2 years. For some reason, I'm still too dumb for passphrases. No, man. Listen, I'm that's one thing that I'm actually terrified of. Is the passphrases and missing, like losing my shit, like, and then I'm screwed. Cream says if Lulu shoes hit and if they buy a lesser costing brand, they can definitely keep the high end and low end market. Yeah, I agree with that. So, and I think that they will. So if you guys are just tuning in, Lululemon crushed earnings and the guidance numbers are absolutely phenomenal. Scroll back just a little bit and you can give my full breakdown on Lululemon earnings. The stock is now up 7.33%. Not only did they crush earnings to expectations for the current quarter, but they also gave amazing guidance, even in an economy, not just the U.S. economy, but a global economy that is slowing. So very interesting. Phil Stroh says, I'm cheap, Walmart special here. I can appreciate that. Stevie Rojas says, I do own Lulu joggers, a few, and they are great. Hashtag not sponsored. Appreciate our male demographic tuning in and giving Lulu some love. Again, like I said, I just can't cheat on my Under Armour. I don't even own Nike stuff. It's all UA for me, baby. Still got to support the home team. So, so there you have it. That's Lulu's earnings numbers. If you guys are just tuning in, they absolutely crushed earnings expectations. Earnings expectations for Lulu was $1.86, and they came in at over $2. It was $2.26 diluted, and then adjusted earnings per share $2.20. So absolutely smashed those earnings expectations. And then the revenue was expected to come in at $1.77 billion. They came in at $1.9 billion, which represented 29% year-over-year growth. Another beat for them. Guidance also came in pretty damn good, beating those expectations. And a phenomenal quarter, and it looks as if they're on track to have a good third quarter as well. So those are your numbers for that. Let's check in with Broadcom as well, because Broadcom is also reporting earnings today, and we can come back and talk about Lulu in just a moment. But AVGO is the ticker symbol for them. Let's check and see where we're at with Broadcom and after hours trading. That stock is down slightly. Doesn't look like we have any reaction to them just yet. The expected earnings for them were at, let's see here, $9.55. Estimated revenue was coming in at $8.4 billion. Last time around, they beat pretty handily, and it looks as if the expectations are pretty strong for Broadcom right now as well. Those numbers do not look like they are in just yet, so we will come back to that. So let's just go back to Lulu. The stock is still reacting. Investors are still looking and digesting this report, and the stock is now up 8% after hours. What an unbelievable day for Lululemon. The stock was down 1.84% on the day, so more than making up for those losses on the day. And let's just take a look at the daily chart. So right now, in after hours trading, Lululemon is trading at $318 per share. That is going to put us right around here. So $318 per share. And so if we open up tomorrow at 318, we still have a pretty decent resistance to look at. That's going to be around 325. We'll move this back up here around 325. That'll be your resistance if we open up around 318 tomorrow morning. You know, it got down as low as 283. So that's still a hefty jump. So that resistance is going to certainly be an area to watch for. Then you have another resistance all the way up here around the 200-day moving average at 335. So we'll see where that goes. But those are your two spots to watch for. If we see any profit taking and the stock ends up giving back some of those gains, watch for a potential support to hold around, what is this? Around a $305 per share. Yeah, around 305 is where I would say to watch for that next. And yeah, those are your key levels to watch for. You also have the 50-day moving average. It's going to be around here, around 302. So if you guys are looking at potential areas to hop in on Lululemon, those are maybe some areas that I would certainly consider taking a look at. Not telling you that you have to, but if it were me and I was looking at Lululemon to buy, those would be some areas that I'd keep an eye on. See if those trends of those areas retest and maybe even break over those specific resistances. So still waiting on AVGO or Broadcom to report their earnings. Doesn't look like those earnings are out just yet, as the stock remains flat after hours. It's down slightly, just about 1%. Actually had a pretty abysmal day. Was down around 1.42%. And it looks as if maybe we have something. I don't know. Let me give it a good old refresh for AVGO. I don't think that those numbers are in just yet. No, they are not. I'm wondering how long we're going to have to wait for them. So checking in with you guys. Mr. KZ Demo says, ain't no way I'm spending $200 plus on something basic, referring to Lululemon's apparel. I appreciate that. I can appreciate that for sure. Stop Console War says Lulu and Victoria's Secret will always pull in major revenue. Not going to argue with that either. 100% agree with that. Stop Console Wars. Went from Lulu to Broadcom. I love the irony. Yes, I've listened. I can't control who's reporting earnings day in and day out, but here we go. Broadcom is looking like the stock is moving here after hours. It's up around 2%. Diva says AVGO does not have aftermarket. It looks to me that it does. Stock's reacting right now. All the research that I've done tells me that AVGO has earnings after hours. If I'm wrong, somebody else call me out on this, but the stock's moving like something's happening, like earnings. So we're going to go with that. The stock is now up 2% after hours, which indicates that we do have earnings out, and we do. Estimated earnings per share of $9.73 beats the expectations of $9.55. Revenue came in at $8.46 billion, beating expectations of $8.41 billion. So we're 2 for 2 tonight. We have Lululemon that absolutely annihilated earnings. I mean, annihilated earnings. Absolutely crushed it. And now we have Broadcom that actually beat earnings as well. Some pretty positive things, especially in earnings season, which hasn't been all that great. With guidance not being all that great, we now have 2 stocks that reported today, and things are looking up for those 2. So as I'd mentioned, actual earnings per share, $9.73, which beats the expectations for AVGO at $9.55. Revenue came in at $8.46 billion. That beat expectations of $8.41 billion. So not a monster beat, not quite a beat like we saw with Lululemon, but a beat nevertheless. So they came in better than expected on that. A couple other key notes to consider, to look at here. They came in cash from operations, $4.4 billion for the third quarter. Less capital expenditures of $116 million resulted in $4.38 billion, $308 billion for a free cash flow, or 51% of revenue. Quarterly common stock dividend of $4.10 per share, which I believe is pretty normal for them. Fiscal year annual common stock dividend of 16.4. Revenue of $8.4 billion for the third quarter, up 25% from the prior year period. Repurchased and eliminated 3.2 million shares for $1.7 billion. So repurchase program for them still working out. Fourth quarter revenue guidance of approximately $8.9 billion, an increase of 20% from the year prior, which I believe also beats expectations for that. Fourth quarter adjusted EBITDA guidance of approximately 63% of projected revenue. Really solid numbers for Broadcom. Consolidated revenue grew 25% year over year. $8.5 billion in operating profit increased 32%, said Kirsten Spears, of CFO of Broadcom, and she says that we generated $4.3 billion in free cash flow and are expecting free cash flow to be strong in the fourth quarter. We remain committed to returning excess cash to shareholders, and in the third quarter, we returned $3.2 billion to shareholders, including $1.7 billion of cash dividends and $1.5 billion of share repurchases. So another solid quarter for Broadcom, another solid quarter for Lululemon. Unbelievable to see that this thing is still absolutely going crazy. And this is something that I think is very interesting too, especially for Lululemon, because on the retail side of things, and look at this, we're about to see new highs here in after hours trading. This stock's about to be up 10%. With retail in general, looking at retail like Gap, we saw Gap's earnings were absolutely dog shit, right? And there was a couple of other ones that to me just, I don't know, it was hit or miss. Yet it seemed as if half the retail companies did well, half of them did not. And I think that we're starting to see a trend. If you guys tune in with me on DCTV every morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern time, we talked about this a little bit about, well, the wealthy still spending out there like they have all the money in the world. So go check that out. The link's in the chat there. I would love to have you guys hang out with us in the mornings. But we talked about how the rich just keep on spending. And this isn't to say that Lululemon isn't just for the rich, but it is, I would argue, on the higher middle class is usually who's going after a Lululemon, right? If you're in the middle class or lower middle class, chances are you don't have Lululemon in your closet, generally speaking. So to me, I think that just in this economy, we're seeing that the rich who got richer are still out there spending and still spending a lot. And so this to me just kind of speaks to that a little bit. Again, not saying that Lululemon is for rich people, but I would say upper middle class is usually the demographic that is buying up Lululemon products. So not really, I guess, too much of a shock when you look at it from that perspective, especially compared to companies like Gap that just did absolutely poorly, and TJX, parent company to TJ Maxx and Marshalls and that sort of thing, didn't do well either. So, and here we go. The stock's trying to get up over 10% here, say up 8% after hours. So just an absolutely crazy move here for Lululemon. AVGO Sandeep says semis are back in the momentum. Yeah, it might be. It might be. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up, I certainly would appreciate it. I see that Stevie Rojas coming to my shout me out. I appreciate that, man. It says it's pretty pathetic to only have that many likes. So yeah, I would appreciate the thumbs up to help show support for the channel. And Danny Norris says, I just getting back to the mining conversation. If you guys caught the top of the show, I had Jaime, my guest, on the show, and he was explaining a little bit on mining as I am starting to dive into my own journey on cryptocurrency mining. And Danny says, I'm interested in home mining when I get the opportunity, share recommendations where to purchase. Absolutely. Just continue to follow me, my man. And we'll get on that road and that journey. Yeah, so I have my first gold shell miner that's going to be mining Kadena. So I'm super pumped for that. Sandeep says buy AVGO. Not financial advice. All right, so he says, I actually like the Kanye West Gap jacket, surprisingly, because his shoes are usually ugly. Well, nobody likes their Yeezys? I guess not. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody walking around in Yeezys. I can appreciate that. All right, guys, listen. We haven't done it in a minute. It's shit or legit time. Put your favorite ticker in the stock in the chat. And I will be happy to let you guys know whether or not your stocks that you would like to put in there are shit or legit. It's shit or legit time. Put them in there. Let me know what you guys are looking at. Is it your favorite stock? Is it something that you're already buying? If you want my opinion on whether or not I think that stock is shit or legit, put it in there. And here we go. So we got Divis. Appreciate you, brother. Says shit or legit on Berkshire Hathaway, specifically the B shares, but it's all Berkshire Hathaway. It's all good. So let's take a look at this. So Berkshire Hathaway B shares. If you guys aren't familiar with Berkshire Hathaway and the holdings that they have in their company, a vast array of them. Apple makes up 40% of the portfolio, and they have plenty of other things. Oil companies, they do a really good job. Most of the stocks in the Berkshire Hathaway holdings are value stocks. If you're interested in looking at value stocks, but maybe you don't know which value stock to go after, maybe you get something like a Berkshire Hathaway B, or you look at some sort of ETF. But I think that Berkshire is probably your best bet, in my opinion. If you're looking to just invest in value and you don't want to invest in something specifically or individually, you can look at something like Berkshire Hathaway. How wrong can you go with Warren Buffett? Some could make that argument that you could go wrong with them, especially how they handled the pandemic and all that. But I will say that Berkshire Hathaway has been the outperformer since 2021 when it comes to the rest of the market. To me, given the fact that we've seen a little bit of a downturn, it's now below the 50-day moving average. I think that we could see this actually come down a little bit lower. I have a support marked around 270. The stock right now over the last year has or year to date, it's only down around 6%, which is actually outperforming the market, still outperforming the S&P. So that's something to consider. In my opinion, this is legit. It's Berkshire Hathaway. You know, depending on what you're trying to do with it and how you're planning on trading it, if you're looking for this long term, hands down, it's legit. Even if you're looking at this short term, I do think that value, especially given how much Apple has come down, and you're looking at the extensive investment that Berkshire has done in Occidental Petroleum, I think that they're on the right track there when it comes to energy. So American Express, also a major holding in Berkshire, and I think that they're going to be just fine as well. Some might argue that we can take a look at that chart. Hold on, let me pull the chart back up. And so you can see that, in my opinion, is legit. I love this. So he says, I only trust Buffett and Tom Lee. You know, Tom Lee has been getting a lot of shit lately because he's the quote unquote perma bull, and particularly on CNBC. I love Tom Lee. Probably the analyst that I look up to the most is Tom Lee and Fundstrat. And so for me, I think that he's gotten a lot of shit for all the wrong reasons. Some people label him as a perma bull, and maybe you can make that argument. But here's the thing: he's been bullish on the market overall, but he did make mentions that the first half of this year was going to be treacherous. Second half is starting to look out that way, but we still have the rest of the year to go through. I do think that we could see a pretty decent bounce after the election. It seems as if Fundstrat and Tom Lee and company are also in that camp. So I appreciate that. Let's take a look at Carlos, who brings in Okta. Now, Okta just had earnings. Let's take a look at that one. Stock right now obviously had a really rough day, down 33% on some pretty tough news. Came in and missed on earnings per share, missed on guidance. And I think, in my opinion, that Okta is quite the overreaction. Now, technically speaking, you can see that the stock is now well below the 52-week lows, and it's just not been pretty. So I'm going to go ahead right now and say that Okta is shit in the short term, but legit in the long term. The company isn't going anywhere, and I think that they will be just fine. But in the short term and in this environment, these types of stocks are going to be the ones that get hammered the most. You look at the forward PE on something like this in a rising rate environment when the company is not making any money, the forward PE is ridiculous. And so the valuation is just sky high. So this is one of those stocks that still needs to come down some before it becomes an actual reasonable buy. Now, again, I'm not saying that Okta, the company, is going to be shit forever, but in the here and now, in the environment that we're in, it's shit. Give it a couple of days and see where it's at. But I think that Okta will give you an opportunity. I do think that this 33% move, sorry about that, this 33% move down is too much, and I think it's an overreaction. But it might be tough sledding for them in the short term. So. Shit or legit on Starbucks. Starbucks is legit. I think they're going to be fine. I love the fact that this came down and retested the 50-day moving average, and it's holding its support around $82 a share very well, and it actually had a pretty damn good day too today. Watch for this 200-day moving average to be retested, but listen, one thing I will say is that Starbucks, through the pandemic, through many other things, and maybe this potential recession that we're getting ready to head into, Starbucks is resistant to a lot of this, and it's shown that. So in my opinion, I think that Starbucks is legit. This has got a pretty decent valuation too. It's been a while since I checked it. Let me just confirm. Yeah, that's on 29 times, so probably a little expensive, but at the end of the day, very good dividend. Some may consider this a value stock, and in this environment, this is probably something that you probably would consider taking a look at. How many times can I say probably in one sentence, by the way? Someone is going to call me out on that. Shit or legit on CLIR. This is one that I am not all that familiar with. This is Clorox Codel or hold on. CLIR. That's not right. Clear sign. It's like Clorox is CLX. All right, CLIR. Let's take a look at this. I got to pull this up a little bit before I give a formal opinion. But right now, the chart looks absolutely abysmal. I'm leaning towards this is shit. But we'll see. Last time around, they missed earnings by a penny. They are operating for a loss. They're only bringing in around $713,000 a quarter. And the stock is down 64% over the last 52 weeks. It's down 25% year to date. It is a penny stock, so just take that for what you will. Let's see if there's any news on here that actually makes any sense. Let's see here. We got a couple of decent analysts calling this a buy, but for the most part, it is not looking good here. Valuation is just kind of so in the middle. And so it looks like they had earnings earnings were today, perhaps. Looks like that maybe they were today, or they are tomorrow. I don't know. I think that without knowing too much about this stock, I'm gonna be indifferent on it. But what I will say is that it's $1 per share for a reason, and it's down 60% over the last year for a reason. I'm gonna lean towards that this is shit. But hey, if you want to take a chance on something that's super risky like this, knock yourself out. S. This had earnings yesterday, Sentinel-1. And they actually had pretty decent earnings. Yet the stock sold off down 6%. It's up around 1% after hours. It fell and closed below the 50-day moving average. Look, this stock is legit. Those earnings actually were pretty damn good, I thought, all things considered. So in my opinion, I really like this, and it's legit in my opinion, Michael. And Tampa's in the house. Go check her out. We're going to be live tomorrow at DCTV. I put the link in the chat, so make sure you guys check us out. Tam's delivering it. Oh, I'm getting a virtual beer. I appreciate that. It is legit for sure. All right. Shit or legit. Oh, now you're going to make me give my opinion on Under Armour after I just talked so many good things about Under Armour and how they're my hometown hero. It's down $7.50. Actually, let's take a look at UAA, the preferred shares. So UAA is the ticker that I go after for Under Armour. You could check out either one. Let's go to the daily chart. It's been really rough for Under Armour. They are the one of those companies that I talked about in retail that actually has been struggling because of incurred costs, supply chain issues, inflation, you name it. It's been pretty rough for Under Armour. I think this is legit, though. We're at a point on Under Armour where you're looking at risk reward, and it's actually pretty damn good. You know, we're getting down to levels that we haven't seen since May of 2020 during the shutdown. So, famous last words, right? How much worse can it get? It can always get worse. But in my opinion, the risk reward here is very good for something like Under Armour. They'll be fine. They're not going anywhere. And so this to me looks like a good opportunity to continue to scoop up some shares of UAA. So there you have it, Oliver Thorpe. Appreciate you guys. And that's going to do it for today's show. So I'll be back on Monday to go over all kinds of other stuff, whatever pops up in the market, and earnings that we'll be covering next week as well. I'm live Monday through Thursday at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time until whenever. And I just appreciate you guys being here. If you guys liked the little tidbits information that I went over with the Cadena miner over there with Jaime, hit the thumbs up and also leave comments, because I want to try to figure out how to structure this in a way that you guys are getting the most out of it. It was interesting to see. We talked about NVIDIA yesterday, Presto. But you know, it literally smack dab down the middle. 76 people voted in my poll that says, have you ever wanted to learn about crypto mining? 50% of you said yes, and 50% of you said no. So it's going to be interesting to see how many people actually watch my stuff and are going to be watching my journey through crypto and just mining in general. This doesn't mean that I'm going to go away from earnings And in fact, this is because right now we're going to be kind of in a lull period between earnings seasons. So I kind of wanted to bring this to the table and let you guys know what I was up to in that side of the world. And we'll see what happens. So until later, do you mean Tuesday? Yes. Thank you for the reminder. So Labor Day weekend, market's going to be closed on Monday. So I will be back Tuesday. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. And I'll catch you all next week. Bye.